So, Lorne, there is a school of thought that um, as, that promotes the idea that you can capture lessons in a document and distribute it, and that is an effective mechanism of passing along lessons. The problem is that lessons are, it's an experience, right? What everyone takes out of the experience something different. And if you are trying to pass it along to somebody else, the context of that experience is incredibly important, because you cannot impose a lesson on someone, and it's very hard to explain, right? What, under what circumstances, what were what was the situation, what was going on, what was driving it. There's so many factors that are driving the experience that it's incredibly difficult to capture it in uh, in a way that it can become universal. I mean, some people may read it and get something out of it, but that is not the intent, right? The lesson learned should be something that is broader, not just one person relating to a sentence, or whatever. The incremental knowledge was so minimal that made the lessons learned captured um, ineffective or inefficient. All right, it didn't match the investment that went into preparing and capturing those lessons learned. Right, and because just reading about it becomes um, very didactic. It's a book, right? Everyone is going to take away something different, which is not the collective lesson learned that you want to share. So to me, it has to be a mechanism to spread it so that it can become, it take a life of its own, right? People start learning from this. This is why. By the way, this what I'm sharing with you and what worked and what didn't is because I saw it. I paid for the big didactic approach versus the not, and the difference was remarkable. This kinds of things, Lord, in my experience, have to be very local, very, that it has to be the intimacy of a group of people that are willing to share the experience and pass it along in a way that is that becomes very personal, right? Where you can relate to what is going on, or how you can actually learn something and pass it along to somebody else. And so that's where I come from on it. Uh, so what I found most effective for the teams I later worked on and with was that as we were going along in certain intervals, you would gather all of those that had something to do with the project or the activity, and take the opportunity to do two things. One was to talk about the lessons, the do's and don'ts, the what, and it became a very intimate sharing. So all of those that participated in that interaction were able to take that message out to the world, having heard multiple perspectives in the room, having communicated what it meant to them, what the experience meant to them, what they learned, all of this, without anyone passing judgment. And we would do it, by the way, we would make it like a celebration, right? We would pick a point where it was worthwhile for us to acknowledge uh, some progress, right? We got to a certain point. We deserve to take a break, celebrate. Let's eat. Let's drink. Let's talk about what we learned, and that became far more effective. And by the way, we all, at one time we even expanded it to invite some of the immediate families of the people involved. So even the families were getting something out of it. So if you're, my view of the world is that if you're writing about lessons learned, I would invite you to consider, how do you actually make it experiential? I mean, how do you embed the experience so it becomes tattooed in your heart, in your in your body, right? It becomes part that you can relate to.